Welcome to the Wealth Architect Podcast. I'm Emilio DiSpirito, and this is your show all about creating wealth through the various ends of real estate. I'm excited to have you here with me today. This is our first episode, and man, we've got some great guests lined up for you, not only this week, but next week, the week after, and we hope you tune in for it. So glad you're here. So today on the Wealth Architect Podcast, we're joined by Joe Gilmour, the president of Welcome to the Cause. Welcome to the Cause is a one-to-one coaching and consulting company, and Joe is the CEO as well of Advisory Mastery, which is a coaching program. With over 40 years of experience spanning construction, lending, appraisals, and luxury real estate sales, Joe is one of the most respected coaches in the industry, and I can tell you firsthand that's true because he's also my coach. So guiding agents and leaders responsible for over 1.6 billion in closed sales annually. That's intense. Think about that. If you want to sharpen your leadership skills, scale your business, and build wealth through systems, that's the key word, systems, strategy, and mindset, this is the conversation that you've been waiting for. Joe, Mr. Joe Gilmour, welcome to the Wealth Architect Podcast.
Oh, well, thank you, my friend. Looking forward to this. When you asked me, I was quite honored, and all the nice things you said about me, I appreciate that. But you're a rock star in your own right. So I'm just happy to be here to contribute for you on the first episode. So let's rock and roll.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah, let's dive right into it. So I want to get into the mindset because growing wealth is, people are always like, what do I do? Where do I start? And I love that you're our first guest here because not too long ago, it was like a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. Do you remember our first coaching call? What you said,
Oh yeah.
what you said to me, I want to reiterate that.
Okay.
And then I want to dive in, tell our listeners why mindset is so, and have you tell listeners why mindset is so important for creating wealth. So I'm on a Zoom call with Joe. Okay. He's on the screen. I'm on the screen. And the first thing this guy says to me, my first real interaction with him is he goes, "Hi, Emilio, you look like shit." And I was just like, first off, Joe, I was taken back, but also impressed all in one. And you were right. All right. So maybe could you kind of dive into like the Emilio that you met? And again, this isn't about me. This is just about mindset and like
Sure.
how what you told me and how we dived into that.
Yeah. I think first and foremost, I think that what one of your challenges was in the very beginning is that you were trying to be great at a million things.
Mm.
And I could see that, you weren't really being great at any of them. And you personally, and I'm a big believer that 80% of whatever we do is about the person, and 20% of it is just something we do.
Mm-hmm,
Okay.
mm-hmm.
So I knew right away that you were out hustling really hard. You were working your tail off.
Right.
But number one, you weren't taking care of yourself. And that is the actual number one thing that's going to be able to take you to where it is that you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I really keyed in on that. It also helps me be able to know, is this person coachable or is this person not coachable? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you can take that from me, and I'm not going to, believe me, I don't get on a call and tell everybody they look like shit. Okay. That's just one thing.
It.
But, that was just the truth in the moment, and that was how that happened.
Yeah. But, so, and that goes to I feel like so often people are looking for the quick get rich quick scheme. They want to just take a pill for it. They want to, maybe read a book and then just fast forward and get it done. But and what I was most impressed by you, Joe, is that you said it all starts with your health and it all starts in how you show up as a leader. Can you talk with us a little bit about how leaders should be showing up? What that means? What do you mean by that?
Totally. Here's the thing. You have to become the person you want to attract. Okay. And if you can't be that person that you want to work super hard on becoming the best version of yourself so that you can attract the type of people that you want to have into your world, you're going to always struggle with getting great people into your world. Okay. That's why first and foremost, you have to be able to have a serious plan on how I can become the best version of myself. If it is that you want to attract wealth, people that can come into your world and make a huge difference in where it is that you want to go.
Got it. Got it. And that's so true. I mean, so if you want to attract more of, if you want to attract a higher caliber of people, I mean, you should probably be hitting the gym, right? Because I look at it like this, right? Like when we started talking, okay, I was 215 pounds. Okay, I was overweight. I would bend down to pick my son up, who was 5 at the time, and I'd be out of breath and lightheaded. And that's what you saw. You saw that Emilio showing up, right? And like, how
Yep.
many of us does just we go out, we grab fast food on the way somewhere, we're quick, it's hustle hustle, go go go, and there's really no time. So that really stuck with me, and then I started looking at the leaders and the people that I look up to, right? And all these people, Joe, they take really good care of themselves, and they show up, and they're a presence in a room, and people automatically respect them because obviously if you're going to take care of yourself, if you're going to dress well, if you're going to command respect right off of the rip.
Yep.
Good.
You know, here's the thing. People have to remember that it's progress over perfection. Okay. You have to get a plan. You've got to consistently work it. None of us are going to be perfect at anything because no matter what it is that we want to do, no matter what mountain we climb, there's always going to be a bigger mountain behind it. But we just have to start out with a plan and understand that, hey, this is where I want to go. I've got to be super consistent in it and start building upon it. And that was one of the things that I noticed about you. You kept showing up and you kept showing up every week, being a better version of yourself, and all of a sudden, bigger and better things started introducing themselves into your world. I believe that when you are a better version of yourself, you open yourself up to people think this is crazy, but the universe wants us to have everything we want.
Yep.
Okay. It literally does. We are the ones that keep that from coming into our world based off of our non beliefs. Okay.
Hmm.
Our lack of clarity and understanding exactly what it is that we want to have. So that is the one of the big keys, and those are a lot of the things that I coach on, and I believe that I worked with you on.
Absolutely it was. But I mean, you work with real estate professionals all over the country, all over the world. Okay. $1.6 billion dollars in closed volume per year is pretty amazing, Joe. What are the traits of, and I know you know bankers, you know business people all over. What are
Mhm.
the top 3 traits that you see in consistent winners?
I would say that, well, number one, obviously, we just talked about that. They totally understand, and they are able. Okay. Number one, they got a great morning routine.
Hmm.
They're consistently on waking up. They go through the steps of reading, meditation, affirmations, visualization, and doing the basically the miracle morning thing. So they really work on themselves and exercise at a high level to get there. Number two, they know how to take care of time. They understand what time is about. Okay.
Hmm.
We have to realize that time is one of the most important things that we have, yet we squander it more than anything else.
True.
There's 168 hours in a week. Okay. If you look at 168 hours a week and you say, okay, 50% of that I'm going to give to my family and my personal life, and 50% is going to be business, you have 84 hours a week. I just literally walked through this with one of my clients and I said to them, do you realize that you spent 400 hours per transaction last year? 400 hours.
Wow.
What are you doing with your time? Okay. So time, definitely 100% important. Three, goals,
Yep.
big goals. Okay. And having clarity around why those goals are super important to them so that they can understand the big why behind it so it'll drive them to go and accomplish those goals. Okay.
Hmm.
And then number four would be spending extreme quality time and being present with the people that you love and the places that you are, and being able to understand and say and reward yourself for all of the wins that you created. I'd say if you were able to master those things,
Hmm.
you're going to be a winner.
That's amazing. Hey, if you're just tuning in now, we're on the line with Joe Gilmour. He's a coach, a business coach and real estate coach with Welcome to the Cause. And they're focused on one-to-one coaching, helping people level up in their career and really build a wonderful life full of wealth and meaning. And so all too often, we get distracted by all of the little things we have to do in business that really stop us from creating that wealth. And Joe and I were just diving into the top 3 things that it takes to really grow your career and grow as a leader, right? Joe, so many times, right? People don't think of themselves as a leader, right? They may say, "Hey, you know what? I'm just I'm a developer. I'm an investor. I'm a top real estate agent. I'm just a real estate agent. I am aspiring to be great, right?" I know you just shared those 3 things that can help with the mindset, but what advice do you have for people that constantly knock themselves down? Which, by the way, I feel is is kind of it goes with a lot of people that I know that operate at such a high level. They're never happy with their results, right? They always want more and more and more. But like, what is one piece of advice that you can tell them? Like, you got to give yourself credit sometimes. Like, what advice could you tell them?
I think far too many times people don't give themselves enough grace. Okay. And I also think that they don't give them enough time to be able to sit back, reflect on where they were, where they are, and where they want to go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I think that, you know, we have a really difficult time in business as to this one thing, being super present. Okay. And being able to be present in a moment or present when we stop what we're doing and moving on to something else, to be able to sit back, reflect, and think about not only the things we've accomplished or what we did accomplish on our last call or our last thing, but what is it that we want to make sure that we're able to do during the next thing that we do? It's we are constantly rolling into our next thing,
Mm-hmm.
and we never have time to go back and look at what were the wins, what were the losses, and what were the opportunities. Okay, we need to realize those things, and we have to be able to look at our wins, look at our losses, celebrate like crazy. Okay, like I think that's one
True.
of the other
True.
things we don't do enough. We beat ourselves up too much, and we don't celebrate enough.
Mm. Why is that?
I just think that when you talk about high performing people, you're talking about high performing people for a reason because they're driven. Okay, they're driven for more. the The challenge is that when you don't when you don't literally go back and be able to reward yourself for what you've been through to get to where you are now,
Mm-hmm.
it's really difficult to get to the next level. And I see this all the time. Burnout.
True. I've
Okay,
been there.
be burnout, being miserable, okay, not being grateful, okay, the lack of gratitude, okay, for what you have,
Mm.
okay. Gratitude is one of the most powerful things that we could ever have in the world, and if we do not stop, take time to be able to be grateful for the things we've done, the people we have, shit, the air we breathe. Okay. Like, I mean, there's so many things to be grateful for
True.
that I just
True.
think that we need to be able to come from a place and understand that you are the one. Okay. Like,
What do you
you're
mean?
the one,
What do you mean?
not the business. You.
You're the one. I mean, the one what?
You are the one that is going to guide your destiny. Nobody else is going to help you get
Got it.
there, okay?
Got it.
You have to take 100% responsibility for what you've done, the mistakes you've made, the wins you've had, and combine that, reflect on it, and see how you can continue going down a road towards your goals.
I love that. Joe, let's talk about the lack of action through procrastination because people want to get it perfect, right? Like let's say this podcast, for example, right? This is our first Wealth Architect podcast. And so many times there's failure to launch with stuff because of overthinking, because of, hey, it's not perfect. How do we do? I can tell you, nothing is perfect, right? As we know, a couple minutes ago when we started this, I had to have the producer start over 3 times, right, just to get this going. And I'm going to put myself on blast for a second. And we're all laughing at me, right? But we still got going and we still went.
Totally.
What type of tips can you tell somebody if they have an idea, or if they're, if they're ready to go but they're just not taking action? Like, can you fix that in somebody, or is that just
Well, listen, everybody can, every one of us have greatness within us. Okay.
Mhm.
So yeah, anybody can fix anything they want to do. I think that, we have to really look at this and say, okay, it's about consistency over content.
Mm.
Okay. Like consistency over content, and what happens is the more consistent you are, the better your content will become.
Mhm.
Okay. The other reason, and progress over perfection. Okay. It's like, okay, you've got to become comfortable with being uncomfortable. See, as human beings, we have this thing where thousands and thousands of years, right? We were eaten by things, and people, diseases and terrible things would happen to us.
True.
Okay. So our nature is to not do anything uncomfortable. Our whole system is made for us to be protected. That's how we're made. So the first thing that's always going to come into our mind is, why do you want to do this? This is stupid. You're not going to get the results you
Mm.
want. Why don't you just continue doing what you're doing,
Yeah.
and we'll just move on from there? That's what our human nature wants us to do. Okay, so we've got to understand it's either nature and nurture. So you can stick with nature and be who you are, or you can nurture yourself to become who you want to become, and understand that I'm going to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, and knowing that failure is always in progress if I want to become the person I want to become.
That's right. The fear of rejection is real. And I think that inhibits so many people from succeeding. And I remember, starting in business, right? Starting in the real estate business, you have no business. It takes months and months and months to create that business just to get your first closing, right? What do you do? And out of desperation, you're knocking on doors, you're calling people, you're getting hung up on, you're getting more doors slammed in your face. And I got to tell you, those times when I look back helped shape me, and they help you become much more resilient, and they help you dig down and learn your skills much better, right? And I think that, and I don't know what you see, but this is what I see. All of the successful people that I've interviewed over the years, okay, in my last podcast, or that I see and meet and get to network with, people like yourself, Joe, high performers, they've taken all of those as lessons when they've fallen on their face, and they've done nothing but honed in and studied and became students of the game. And 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 it's the small things, right? Like, I think one of the best things that I've learned over the years is shut the music off in the car. Use that time, the windshield time, because how often are we in the car to listen to podcasts or to listen to books, okay? And just hone in on your skills.
Or how about just not listen to anything
Oh man, see
and
now.
really sit back and reflect? Okay. The problem is it's not the information that we need. Okay. There's more information out there than has ever been out there. Okay.
Hmm.
What you really need to do is to sit back and understand what drives you. What do you actually want? Okay. And to
Hmm.
be able to reflect on what is winning and what is losing, what is working in your world and what is not. Who are the people that you have in your world that are actually helping you get to where you want to go, and who are the people who aren't? Okay. Being able to spend time with yourself and being able to reflect upon these things, because anytime we want to learn, there is a plethora. There is a never ending source of stuff to be able to learn. But the best thing you can ever do is try to learn yourself. Okay? Like, what do you want? What's working? What's not working? Okay? And being okay with being honest with yourself. Okay? That is where the magic happens. Being able to go through all the noise, all the stuff that's coming our way, and really understanding that about yourself is what's going to take you to the next level quicker.
Well, that's some fantastic advice, Joe. Yeah, man, that hit hard. That's good. That's really good. And you notice something too about, people that have accumulated a lot of wealth and that are leaders in their fields or their industries, is that they're usually pretty calm and cool. They're collected, and that's. Would you say that that's a key to achieving success? Is meditating and quieting your thoughts and kind of focusing in and looking at, owning. That's another thing too, but kind of owning where you could be better.
Yeah, this world is amazing. Okay. Anything and everything you would ever want to have, be, and become. Okay.
Hmm.
And I love be, do, have. Okay. Like, who do you want to be? Okay. What are the things that you need to do to have the things that you want to have? Okay. And you can be, do, and have anything in this world. Okay. That's what's beautiful about this world. You
Hmm.
want to become a billionaire? I'm telling you right now, there's plenty of money out there. Okay. There's plenty of opportunity out there, but you need clarity and being able to understand your strengths and weaknesses. Who are the people you need to bring into your world? It's okay if you're terrible at something. Okay. I'm freaking terrible at you would never want me to be your admin. Okay. I know that about myself.
Me either.
Okay.
Yeah.
Totally. But we have to understand that we've got to be able to be completely honest with ourselves about who we are, what we want, what are we good at, and what are we not good at, and then be able to go collect great people around us who
Hmm.
are not only people who work for us, but are partners with us to help us get to where we want to go. Because if you're a great leader, okay, a great leader's job is to help all the people around them to get what they want to have.
That's right.
Okay. That's what a great leader does. A great leader is not there just to feel, say, I want to be the best and I want this amount of money and I want to do these things. No, no, that's not what great leaders do. Great leaders empower others to become the best versions of themselves so that they can get the things that they want to have. And if you can do that, you will create an amazing organization and an amazing group of people that you can surround yourself with.
That's awesome. Great advice. Joe Gilmour of Welcome to the Cause, our first guest here on The Wealth Architect. Joe, thank you so much for coming on and sharing some valuable insights. And, feel free, Google Welcome to the Cause, or you can follow Joe Gilmour on Instagram. Joe, what's your handle?
My handle is Advisor Mastery. Just look up Joe Gilmore, it'll pop up, and I'll give you my cell phone number 925-548-1909.
All right, awesome. Stay tuned. We're going to be right back here in a couple moments with Jim DeRentis, one of the top performing real estate agents in the country, here in a couple minutes here on The Wealth Architect. Welcome back to the Wealth Architect podcast. I'm Emilio DiSpirito, and today's guest is none other than Jim DeRentis with Residential Properties. Now, Jim is the #1 agent at Residential and one of the top agents in the country. He's on the America's Best list. He's constantly just going out there and crushing it. I respect him very much. And after 25 years of a career in banking, Jim transitioned into real estate in 2009 and quickly rising to the top with over 100 million in sales in 2021. And I see those numbers year after year, Jim. He's also a seasoned investor and developer with a deep insight in urban revitalization, and Jim's approach to brand building, deal making, and community impact really offers valuable lessons to real estate professionals and people looking to build and grow their wealth everywhere. Jim, welcome to the Wealth Architect.
Thank you, Emilio. I'm happy to be here.
You're very welcome. So, Jim, I've always admired you over the years. We don't get to work, a lot closely. The east side of Providence is a market that you really cover very, very well, along with other markets, but you crush it over there. So it's nice to be able to have you sit down with us
Okay.
today.
Yeah.
And on our first episode ever. So I'm honored to have you.
Well, I feel privileged.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, Jim, you've been, you've seen Rhode Island's luxury landscape evolve. And what do you define as a luxury market?
It's interesting. When back in the 2010s, we sort of defined luxury housing, luxury real estate, and I'm going to stick to single family houses as the category. It was about $1 million, right? You thought if it was $1 million and up, it was sort of luxury housing, luxury pricing. Today, depending on where in the state you are, those numbers are well in excess of $2, $3, sometimes $4, $5 million.
Sure.
The closer you are to the coasts or more the sort of the more desirable coastal areas, those numbers can hit the tens of millions.
They sure can. I mean, some of these numbers have doubled, tripled over the past couple of years. It's pretty impressive. And, where do you see the Rhode Island market
Mhm.
headed in 2025? And what advice could you give home sellers, okay, on how to best position their homes with the market transitions?
Yeah, I think the fundamentals of real estate, Emilio, do not change,
Hmm.
right? I think market conditions change, and you really should be consulting your, sort of your real estate professional to help guide you through that.
Hmm.
But the fundamentals are pretty much the same. If you're looking to position your property for sale to get a premium price in any market, the first thing you have to do is prepare it properly. And if you've got a good agent, they'll walk you through it.
Hmm.
Those folks that follow that advice and prepare their homes are the ones that we see that get the premium price.
That's so true. And
And, you know,
I'm glad you brought that up because there's been times, and I'm sure you've taken listings too, where you tell them, hey, make sure the place is very clean, right? Like showroom ready, I call it. Let me ask you this. When you get a client that they just don't prepare the property correctly, how are you having that conversation with them?
you know, you sort of, 9/10 of this business is emotion,
Hmm.
right? So you try and read the client, you try and understand where they're, sort of coming from and, find the objection, right? Find the thing that you think is really driving the decision and help them to overcome that objection. And I think that, we've been at this long enough. We've sold enough property. We've seen the successes and the not so
Hmm.
successful sales. And you can point to them. And, in every market, in every season, you're going to have those that, got the premium price
That's right.
and those that didn't.
Hmm.
And, you lay the landscape, you lay the data. Ultimately, the client drives the decision.
Hmm.
It's their money.
That's right.
But you give them the best advice you can and, hope that they follow it.
Hmm. That's right. It's good advice. Thank you, Jim. If you're just tuning in, we're here with Jim DeRentis. He's the number one selling real estate agent at Residential Properties and constantly hitting the top lists all across the country for top producing. And also, aside from top producing, Jim, you're very well liked in the marketplace because you conduct yourself as a professional. I mean, you're sitting here with us today, giving some great advice to anybody listening, which I appreciate, really do. Now, what's one market here in Rhode Island or Southern New England that you believe is still undervalued? I get this question all the time. I'm so curious, like, and why?
Well, I would argue that Rhode Island as a state, relative to our neighbors,
Yeah,
is still undervalued.
sure is.
Now, with that said, we're 1,000 square miles, right?
Hmm.
We have 440 miles of coastline. That coastline is probably the one thing that really defines the state.
Hmm.
And there are these pockets of these, they were sort of vacation slash shanty towns,
Hmm.
when we were growing up,
Potawatomi.
right? Potawatomi's a good example. Tidewater in Warwick.
Oh yeah.
And you look at those areas just south of Wickford Village
Hmm.
in North Kingstown, Lone Tree Point, Duck Cove, all of those little places. Those are the ones that I see as really being undervalued because they're these, sort of smaller cottagey style properties, but amazing locations.
Hmm.
South Tiverton, South Tiverton on the East Bay, excuse me, is another community that, when I was younger, growing up, it was basically, sort of farm town and just, sort of a group of local townies that never left,
Hmm.
right? And now, if you look at what's going on over there, the whole community has become and is being
Oh
transformed.
yeah.
And you're a half an hour from Providence. It's an easy commute in, and you're seeing people like sort of discover these little pockets and little gems that are not on everybody's radar screen. This isn't Newport, it's not Jamestown, it's not
Yeah.
Watch Hill. These are the sort of little pockets, and I think that's where the values remain.
Absolutely. There's so many beautiful places with so many beautiful views. And I think one of the best things about Rhode Island is the proximity to everything. I mean, you could be anywhere so quick and that's really great. So many agents chase the same hot zip codes, okay? How do you train your eye to stay ahead of the curve rather than behind it?
It's funny. You watch certain um, trends in market, right? And you see, you see everybody running toward the same thing. It's like, buy high, sell low. It's that sort of strategy,
yes.
right? And so what I try and do is understand if I'm looking for a particular client, or if I'm helping a seller client, what I try and do is to position their sort of goal and objective front and forward, and then offer them options. Okay. And so if this is your goal and this is your option, have you considered this? Okay. And because, I did spend 25 years in financial services, I was on the retail side of the bank. So I ran retail, marketing, communication. So I was out in a variety of communities in and around the state and got to know them, right? So I really got to learn the different communities that the bank served.
Sure.
Right? So, and with that, you sort of understand these little sort of pockets and little nuances. So when somebody's talking to me about a particular place in Rhode Island, chances are I know it. I've been there. I've lent against it. I've got some experience with it, so that I can sort of help guide people toward it. It's not like picking a hot stock, right? What we're trying to do here is to balance somebody's real estate objective, whether it's a primary residence or a secondary home, and match them with where they're going to get the most value. And that's sort of how I approach it. If somebody wants to have one of the, sort of the hot zip codes, then you have to, let them understand and help them understand that they're going to need to pay a premium for it.
For somebody that doesn't live in Rhode Island, that's interested in relocating to Rhode Island, what are your 3 top marketplaces, your top 3 favorite that you think they should check out? And why?
That's like asking me to pick a favorite restaurant.
Yeah, I know it's tough. It's tough. It's very tough here in Rhode Island. We have the best food, hands down.
Exactly. However, I think again it comes back to the client's goals, right? If you've got somebody who, if it's a family, right, and they're moving in, and maybe it's a job that's driving the decision, and they're really concerned about school systems, right? So you're going to try and get under, all right, what's your experience? Where are your kids presently in school? What's that experience like? And how are you going to replicate it here? All right. If you've got, sort of, I'm intent on a public school system. We all know the ones that are the top of the market.
Oh, yeah.
That's what you're going to recommend. If somebody is used to the private school route, then it opens up another set of areas for people to go to. If somebody is looking for a coastal, sort of experience, right? And that's going to set up another different market. Most of my business is in and around the Providence metro area. And then I do the coastal communities because I have a lot of clients that have second homes. And then everybody needs to do the Barrington, East Greenwich because of the school systems.
Oh, yeah, all the
right?
time.
They're the feeders into the employments, right?
Sure.
And so you need to understand those markets because they're popular and with good reason. So I think it's more about balancing the client need and then trying to direct them to the right spot. And I've always found that if you serve your client well, if you listen to their goals and objectives and you're able to meet them, you'll have a client for a long time.
I absolutely love that. And you know what? That tells you everything you need to know about Jim. The fact of the matter is, I said, Jim, give me your top 3 locations that somebody should move to. And he said, well, basically what I got from this, Jim, is it depends on what the client needs. And, serving with a purpose and serving your clients with that kind of a mindset really sets you apart from the rest. One last question.
Yeah, sure.
So for investors and builders, tuning in, we want to give them some advice on when it comes to balancing the risk and reward in early entry luxury plays. Like, where is that?
It's interesting. I did a development, 25 years ago now. And I was looking at a certain area. This is in Providence. I was looking at a certain area and I was looking at a certain location and I was watching what was going on around the building that I was buying. And there was a lot of private investment coming in, right? There was some public investment, but most of this was all private investment. And, there were a lot of, sort of newer, younger developers, younger small businesses coming in. And so bought a building, started the transformation and the conversion. And I was fortunate enough to meet a man who was actually from Berkeley, right? And his girlfriend lived here in Providence, and that's why I met him. And he developed this amazing retail mecca in Berkeley, in an old sort of rundown, sort of an old industrial
Visionary.
waterfront sort of community. But what he did tell me, and so I went out to see it, and he took me all around it. He took me through the area, and he gave me these tips about, if you're looking to develop retail, because part of this development was retail. If you're looking to develop retail, these are the tenets that you have to live by. Okay, so I sort of learned from him, and he was spot on.
Specific kinds of tenants or specific stores?
It was just retail. It wasn't because retail, you need two-way traffic.
Okay.
You cannot be on a one-way street.
Okay.
Okay, and the other thing is you have to have buildings on both sides of the street.
Okay.
All right. So it creates like a corridor and a destination.
Got it.
And he was spot on. The building that we developed, it was, successful, and I'm not complaining about it, but it was a two-way street. It was a pretty sort of main drag, but the opposite side of the street was all institutional. All right. So it was there was like no traffic, except at certain times of day and certain times of year, because it was, people didn't live there. People didn't go there on a regular basis. So you sort of learn those kinds of things. So when I'm talking to a developer, I said the first thing that you have to think about, and it's going to sound trite to everybody out there, it's location, location, location. You really need to be sure, if you're going to invest, and if we're talking about luxury, single family development, you really need to nail that location, because what looks like a good value from a purchase price perspective for a piece of land may not be a good value versus buying the one that's more expensive but better located.
True. Solid advice. And, all you have to do is hit Jim DeRentis on Google. You're going to find all of his contact information. He's fantastic. Jim, thank you so much for jumping on with us today here on the Wealth Architect podcast.
Emilio, thank you very much for
man, my
including
pleasure.
me. And there's one thing that we started, sort of down the path.
Yeah.
And if this is one thing I can tell the other sort of folks in our business, we all work together. We might be independent contractors, we might be competing against each other, but we all have the same goals and objectives. And I find that when you come across a professional like yourself, and you're on the other side of the table doing a deal, it helps when you're approaching the business from the same perspective. And you all develop so your networks, and who the folks are that you like to work with, and those that when it comes up on the other side, you're like, oh boy, here we go.
That's right.
But it's an important thing, because this community is very small. And people ask me all the time, how are you successful? How do you keep doing it day in and day out? It's like, you need to treat people with the respect that they deserve, and that professionalism will come back at you. And I think that is one lesson that I've learned, and I learned it. I'll say it was Sally Lapides who brought me on
She's
in this
fantastic,
business.
yes.
And I learned that early on with her, and it's a lesson I've never forgotten. So thank you, sir.
Fantastic. Jim, thank you so much. Hey, stay tuned. We'll be right back here on The Wealth Architect. We've got Tom Canterino with Level Up Marketing Solutions talking about Google My Business, and you're going to learn all you need to know about that and leveling your business up. Stay tuned. Hey, welcome to the Wealth Architect podcast. I'm Emilio DiSpirito, and today we're joined by Tom Canterino, the founder of Level Up Digital Solutions. He's a Forbes 30 Under 30 honoree and a leader who's helped generate over $500 million in revenue through smart, scalable digital strategies. In this episode, we're going to be diving into a tool most real estate pros seriously underuse. I think most business professionals, by the way, seriously underuse this tool, and it's Google My Business. If you want more local visibility, which is huge, local visibility, more qualified leads, and a serious edge over your competition, this conversation is for you. Awesome. Thanks so much for joining us,
Thanks
Tom.
for having me. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you being here with us today. Again, on our first episode, we're having fun. We're working out the kinks, and it's a blast. And that's business in general, right? Always working out the kinks, kind of reinventing yourselves, making things better. But Google My Business has been a platform that I've seen so many people scale their businesses with. Okay, can you kind of give us a basic overview of what Google My Business is, and then we'll dive into some deeper topics.
Yeah, sure. So Google My Business, and now it's actually called Google Business Profile, but
Mm-hmm.
same terminology. It's a free tool or free service that Google gives to us that we just have to utilize. We just have to optimize. And we just have to give it a little bit more love, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
It's very competitive to be in the Google Map Pack because there's only three sections to be there. So keeping a really close eye on everything that's going into your Google My Business profile is super, super key.
The Google Map Pack. Okay. All right. So that's the top three. Obviously, it costs money to pay. You got to pay to get on there, right?
You can pay to get on there, yeah. So if you want to be the fourth position, you can pay to get on there. But essentially, this whole thing to be those three positions, it's free.
Okay. All right. Absolutely. And you said that Google My Business is simple, effective, and can set, agents and business people apart. Can you give us a quick couple examples of that, Tom?
Yeah, sure. So Google My Business, kind of acts like a social media platform, more or less. So realtors or business owners, they can be posting every single day, just like they would for Facebook or Instagram. So all your new open houses, all your new listings, if you had a new closing, etc. The more you can kind of put into your Google My Business profile, it makes you look more credible. It's essentially a billboard that works for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it's really, if someone is going to try to find a realtor, find a sell their home, they're going to go to Google. And once they type in realtor near me, real estate near me, the Google business profiles come up.
Definitely builder near me, developer near me, whatever it is that they're typing in, you want to make sure to get on there. All right. So Google My Business, Tom, is something that, of course, a lot of people may have used or they've seen. Okay. But it's one of those tools. And I can tell you firsthand that when you use it correctly and when you have the right information in there, the effects are going to be compounding. I mean, your phone's going to be ringing, and that's the whole point. Okay. So what are some common mistakes? What are the biggest common mistakes that you see people overlook or see people do that they really should be fixing?
Yeah, so the first one that comes to mind is just not having one, just not having a profile, not verifying the profile.
Yeah. 2025, not having one?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, some people think that it's so competitive to be there, so you have to be a top business or you have to be on the top to be there. But essentially, if you just give it a little bit of daily love and reverse algorithm what Google wants,
Yeah.
you get momentum, you get visibility in turn. So
Okay.
some other things are not responding to reviews. So Google wants to make sure that every single review that's coming in is getting a response, even if it is negative. Not posting pictures, not keeping the information updated. So this again is your little Rolodex, if you will. It has your hours, it has your phone numbers, it has your booking schedule, it has everything in there. So people are just so underutilizing it. Where there is cheap, ineffective ways to just carve a little time out during your day to get that momentum, and then it will pay dividends. And I've seen it time and time again happen.
Absolutely. The way I look at it is, right, like Google will email you if you're the account holder, if you're the account owner, they're going to email you every so often and ask you to check your hours, right?
Exactly, yes.
All right. So when Google does things like that, okay, it's doing it because not just because it wants to spam you, it's doing it because it's probably searching who keeps their hours updated. Is that going to affect your ranking status?
So it will if a potential customer or client kind of goes to your Google business profile and then it says has your wrong hours or has your wrong phone number or has your wrong email. If the client they can suggest an edit. If they suggest an edit, it's going to tell Google. It's going to essentially behind the scenes telling Google that we're going to lose a little bit of credibility. So if your Google My Business profile is not locked, that change that the viewer can make is actually going to stick. So if someone said your phone number is 1-800 da 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 da, and it is that, or it's not that, but the client or the consumer said it, it's going to stick after that.
Wow. Eugh. And you don't want that. You don't want what the consumer is saying, especially if it's inaccurate, to stick. What are some other things that professionals can do to rank their business higher in Google My Business?
So first and foremost is having 100% complete profile,
Okay.
100%, 100% built out. Also, making sure that we're bringing in at least 2 new reviews every single month. And it can be a 1-star review, it can be a 5-star review. Google
Okay.
just wants to see some sort of activity. And then you can be really strategic in how you respond to those reviews,
Yeah.
putting in keywords, et cetera, keeping your photos up to date, posting, doing all your, if you have an open house or if you have any type of business announcement, making sure that it's publicized on that profile.
Is there a such thing, Tom, where you're posting too much on
No.
Google My Business?
Not on Google My Business, no, because actually after 7, if it's either 7 or 14 days, all your posts actually fall off.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
that's why it's really important. Google's biggest thing is the more relevance you are, and they utilize relevance as in posting, keeping their profiles up to date. The more relevant you are, keeping information coming in, they're going to give more
Yeah,
credibility.
there's more credibility there. It makes total sense. Oh, let me ask you this, right? Last question right now is, let's talk about business people's worst nightmare. That 1-star, 2-star, even 3-star review, right? So let's just say you get a 1-star review and these people are just ripping you apart online, okay? How can you leverage that 1-star review
Yes,
to be like the authority in your business, in your marketplace, and to really help you scale that profile back up?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you saying leverage that 1-star review, because obviously there's always going to be 2 sides of the sword, right?
That's right.
I personally will always, just because of my field of work, I'm always looking at people's reviews, good and bad. If I see a
Mm-hmm. You
bad,
hit bad first, right?
right, and
Like
if I
bad
see
first.
bad,
Yeah.
and obviously you keep that with a grain of salt, but if the business owner is responding back to that review and it's really elegant and it really hits a lot of points and
That's
it's not aggressive, etc., that actually goes further than a 5-star review.
That's right. Yeah.
So I'm in the camp of ask as many clients as you possibly can, even if you're going to get a less than perfect review.
You're never going to make everybody happy in business. It just is what it is. And, I remember I think it was like a 1 or a 2-star review as our first one out of like 200. And we were like, oh my gosh, what do we do? And I remember one of my friends, he said, Emilio, leverage that. And I was like, wow, thank you. Right. And now we literally get business from that 1-star review. It's crazy.
I believe it. You never shy away from the 1-star, 1 or 2 stars.
No, that's good. So leverage that. Look, there's so much more to this than what we're able to talk about in an 11-minute segment here on the show. And you could go ahead and you could Google Tom Canterino, Level Up Marketing Solutions, and him and his digital solutions, right? Digital Solutions. Tom Canterino, Level Up Digital Solutions. Go ahead and contact him and he can consult you on what you can do to really grow your business through Google My Business and several other areas of marketing as well. So awesome. Tom, thank you so much for jumping on The Wealth Architect with us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate
You're
it.
very welcome. Thank you. Great show today. I'd like to thank Tom with Level Up Digital Solutions, as well as our other guests that came on earlier. Fantastic show. You can listen to it on iHeartRadio, Spotify, and SoundCloud, all over social media as well. Next week, we're going to talk to my friend Anne-Marie Sabath. She's a book author of over 11 books, and we're specifically going to be talking about this one here: what self-made millionaires do that most people don't. It's going to be a fantastic segment, a ton more of content on how to create and build wealth here through real estate and several other businesses involved with the real estate market. Thank you so much. We'll see you later. God bless you. We'll see you next week here on the Wealth Architect podcast.